Hey there, Fletch from All Things Overlanding here, and today, maybe a little bit of a controversial topic, but I'm going to be talking about whether modifying your rig can make it worse for overlanding. I'm going to dive into the specifics of that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the rigs that I've had and why I feel this way, and kind of give you my final thoughts on why I think that modifying a vehicle oftentimes does make it worse. However, I love modifying vehicles. I'm never not going to modify a vehicle, but I just want to kind of give you guys a word of caution if you are thinking of modifying a vehicle to be intentional and thoughtful with your modifications. And again, tell you some stories of times when that didn't go so well for me. So if you want to hear more about how modifying your vehicle can make it worse for overlanding, stay tuned.
Understand where it came from, but you got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you gave to me. Loosening my grip.
All right, guys. So as I mentioned in the intro, today I am talking about modifying your vehicle, the risks that are involved, and how it can oftentimes make it worse. So let's kind of go back in time a little bit. So my first overlanding rig that I built was a 2005 Nissan Xterra. Loved that truck. For those of you that have listened to this podcast, I'm not going to go super deep into this because I know you guys have all heard the stories of all my trucks before. But what I do want to focus on is some of the modifications that made that truck insufferable, right? So did it look cool on Instagram? Yes. Did it perform well off-road? For the most part, yeah, it did pretty well. It had big tires on it, had a big lift. It, had a winch. It did everything that I needed it to do. But I removed like the back plastic cladding, if you're familiar with Xteras, from like the rear corners. Mainly because one, there was rust underneath of it, and I didn't want to keep taking them off and putting them back on to deal with the rust with Rust-Oleum and sanding stuff down. And two, because I thought it kind of looked cool because it looked different, right? It didn't look stock anymore. I painted it all black to, again, deal with the rust, but then also it gave me a way to differentiate the truck a little bit. But realistically, people looked at the truck and went, holy crap. Is your truck wrecked? Like, why does it look like that, right? I kind of liked it. I don't really care what other people think. You're going to learn that about me really quick when you see my vehicles and stuff. But that was one that was definitely questionable, that by the end of it, I'm like, I might have gone a little too far. I drilled some holes into the quarter panels, put a solar panel on the hood. That's something. Drilling holes into your hood and literally mounting a rigid, hard solar panel is a choice for sure. But I mean, like, people asked all the time, did you have glare from that? And I really didn't. I never had any problems with like other people's headlights bouncing off it, the sun bouncing off of it. It's a solar panel, right? It absorbs a lot of that solar energy, and the way that the hood slants, it actually slants away from the windshield a little bit. So I never had any glare issues or anything like that. I'm sure it probably impacted my gas mileage negatively. Again, it looked pretty tacky, if I'm being honest. Like, I was like, I'm an overlander, man. Like, just go with it, you know? But anyone that didn't know anything about overlanding is like, why does this guy have a solar panel bolted to the hood of his truck? Now, if you're just talking aesthetics, absolutely almost everything we do for overlanding probably makes our vehicles worse from an aesthetic standpoint, right? I mean, the fact that I've cut up my bumper, put a big bumper on it, I've got a snorkel on it, I've got a Rotopax strapped to the side, I've got more aggressive offsets on my wheels that make them stick out past the fenders. Like, if I'm just a normal person, I'm like, what is this guy, like Indiana Jones, or like, what is he doing? Where's he going with this thing, right? So from an aesthetic standpoint, everything is questionable, I think, from the overlanding modification. Again, you have to have some thick skin, and you have to care more about having a rig that is capable that you can get out and go and explore in and do stuff in than you do about people wondering why it looks the way that it does or asking questions. Now, I found most people to be pretty nice about it, right? Most of them are just curious, and when you start to tell them, they're like, that's really cool that you've gone to Wyoming and gone out in the middle of nowhere and spent 2 weeks in the wilderness, right? And lived out of your vehicle, and you have a fridge, and you have solar panels and a dual battery setup and a tent on your roof that you can sleep in. Like, most people think that's cool, but there is definitely some trepidation there, I think, from an aesthetic standpoint of modifications making your vehicle worse. From a performance standpoint, we modify our vehicles to make them more capable so we can go to more places, right? And I think that in and of itself is good. I think if you use cheap parts, that can be problematic. I've used cheap parts. This isn't a judgment, and I'm not trying to gatekeep or tell you never buy the rough country stuff. I won't do that. But if you ask me for a real recommendation, I'm going to say stay away from it, right? Because I've had it. I had coil bucket contact, meaning the upper control arms would contact the top of my coil buckets in the front when my tires drooped. and it would clunk and thunk, and it's just not good for anything, and it makes you look like a hillbilly, right? Because your stuff is not built properly. So again, modifying your vehicle in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing, but if you do it cheaply or badly or with no taste, then that definitely can make your experience worse and the perception of your vehicle worse. And it can make your ride worse, right? So like, again, if you're modifying something just to be cooler looking or to make it really, really super awesome and big, then oftentimes that will make your overlanding experience worse. An example of this would be like MT tires, right? If you are putting mud terrain tires on a vehicle that you drive 90% of the time on concrete and you daily drive it to work, most of your experience is going to be awful in that vehicle. Your gas mileage is going to go down. The ride is going to be really awful. The tire noise is going to be really loud for all of your 90% of driving that you're doing. Now, when you get off road in the mud, of course, those mud terrains are going to perform better on obstacles and in the mud. But if that's only 10% of the time that you use that vehicle, it's honestly going to make it worse, right? So in that situation, maybe you go with an AT all-terrain tire or a hybrid tire like an RT from Kenda that is in between an MT and an AT that gives you some of the capability of the MT off-road tire and some of the quieter ride handling characteristics of the AT tire. That's what I've done for a long time. Now I'm actually back to an AT tire again with these Nitto Terra Grappler G3s because I got better gas mileage. They are a little bit worse off-road than the Kendas, but they're way better in the rain, which I live in the Midwest. There is a lot of rain, especially in the spring here. And I mean, I was pushing through roundabouts. I was understeering like crazy. I had a couple times where I slid out of my lane because the Kendas, while great in most conditions, are not the greatest in the wet. So while my tires may not look quite as cool as they used to with the Kendas, they are actually way better in the majority of the situations that I use them in. So going less modified actually made my experience better as an overlander. The same goes with like crazy engine modifications. My 12-year-old the other day was like, Dad, why don't you just put a Lamborghini, V12 in it and twin turbo it and have 1,000 horsepower, or 2,000 horsepower? And I'm like, listen, bro, you're 12. And second of all, that makes no sense. That's not a common swap. It's going to cost a ton of money. You're going to have reliability issues. You're going to have overheating issues. It won't fit in the engine bay. It doesn't make sense. There are reasons for certain swaps, and sometimes they make sense. On my old Nissan Frontier that has 220,000 miles on the stock 4-liter 6-cylinder, that may be due for a V8 swap at some point. There are common 5.6 liters from the Nissan Titan that bolt right up in the Frontier, and maybe that's something that happens in that truck at some point. But there are people that have those swaps and have overheating problems, that have issues with them running properly. Anytime that you do a ton of modifications like a full engine swap and you have to rewire everything and you have to make some modifications to make it work, you're decreasing the reliability, the intended functionality of that vehicle, and it's going to create problems. Again, going back to my 08 Frontier that's Titan swapped, I had big old 35-inch tires on it, but still stock 336 gears, and I broke an axle in it, leaving my driveway, actually. I'm sure I broke it before that and had some sort of fracturing or something going on, but as I was leaving my driveway to go 10 hours north on an awesome trip to an awesome expo, it broke in my driveway as I was leaving. And, having this big built-out truck that's super capable and has all these modifications actually hurt me. And then I missed that entire trip. I missed the whole expo. I was super bummed about it. And if I just had this stock Frontier with slightly bigger tires on it, it would have been fine, right? I could have just driven up there. I wouldn't have had the problems. Could it do as many obstacles as the highly modified vehicle? No, probably not. But is it more reliable? Does it make my trips better? Is it better outfitted for overlanding and for my trips? Yes. So again, my intention with this episode is not to just drone on and on about not modifying vehicles or to poo-poo on your ideas if you're thinking of modifying your vehicle. Again, my truck is pretty modified. I wouldn't say it's bone stock, but mechanically and everything, it's mostly stock aside from an intake and a snorkel. And I'm going to do a new diff cover in the rear just from a reliability standpoint. There's some weeping, some sort of leaking going on from the rear diff. So when I do my service and I drain that fluid and replace it, I'm going to put a better diff cover on it with a really good lube locker gasket as a maintenance item, right? Not necessarily as an upgrade. It is an upgrade. It's a better, heavier duty diff cover and a better gasket to ensure that none of that fluid leaks out. But I'm doing it as a part of maintenance to also upgrade at the same time. I also plan to install a catch can from Z1 on this truck because it is a direct injection engine, and I just want to protect the engine. I want to prevent that carbon buildup as long as possible. While it is a modification, it's not necessarily going to create any problems or do anything to hurt the vehicle. If anything, it's just going to protect it and make it more reliable. Same with like a rear diff breather. If you're familiar with the Frontiers, the front diffs have a built-in breather. The rear ones are not, do not have an extended breather. So if you go through water crossings or deep mud or anything like that, then you risk sucking fluid into the rear axle and possibly damaging some stuff. So one of the first things I did to this truck was install an ARB remote diff breather. And again, that is a modification, but it is one intended to improve the longevity of the vehicle and protect it. So to say all modifications are bad is not what I want to do, but I do want to say be thoughtful, be intentional with your modifications, right? Think through them really hard and make sure that you are picking modifications that are going to extend the life of your vehicle, that are going to protect your vehicle, like a snorkel. I know people have weird feelings about snorkels not being useful, and why are you just going to drive on gravel roads and have a snorkel? It gets the air intake up higher. It prevents a lot of the dust and debris and stuff that would normally get sucked into the engine from getting sucked into the engine because of the higher air intake point. And I do a lot of deep water crossings. I go up to Michigan, I go up to Wisconsin, and down to Kentucky, and there's a lot of deep water stuff down there. So it's more of like a peace of mind thing for me. And again, moving your intake up doesn't impact the vehicle negatively at all. If anything, it's just a positive. So just be thoughtful about your modifications. Don't try and just make your vehicle a giant, huge monster truck just because it looks cool. Think about the ways that it's going to impact your gas mileage, your reliability, your ability to get out to remote destinations, your ability to keep your truck reliable and running and getting you to those expos or those camping trips or those overlanding journeys that you're going to go on. That is as important as having a super capable rig, right? Like if you hit a really bad obstacle, you can turn around. There's no fear in that. There's no harm in that. Everybody says, oh, you didn't do it. I don't care what other people think. I'm there to explore. I'm there to have a good time. If it means turning around sometimes, you got to do it. It's not a big deal. But having a truck that's reliable and will get you there is more important than having a highly modified rig that breaks every 3 to 6 months, right? So just something to think about, a little bit of food for thought for you guys and gals that are thinking of building out a overlanding rig or modifying a vehicle to, you know, the ends of oblivion so that it's just the biggest, most massive Titan swapped monster you've ever seen. There are a lot of cons to that too. There are some pros for sure, but especially for overlanding, keep that in mind. The guys and girls that are going to come into my comment and start yelling at me about, oh, I have a Titan swap and I love it. Great. I love Titan swaps too. I kind of want to Titan swap the new truck, but I haven't done it because the more parts I swap in and out on this thing, the more likelihood that I'm going to have some sort of problem versus just leaving it stock. Okay, so those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? If you were on YouTube, post up in the comments down below. If you're on Spotify, you should have a spot to post up some comments too. If you're just listening on a different podcast platform, there are links in the description below to all my other social channels. Come join the conversation over there. I'd love to hear from you. Also, below this video, specifically, if you're on YouTube, is a join button. That's just kind of a passive way to support the channel. It'll get you early access to the videos and some other perks. So if that sounds good, check that out. If you would rather be more involved with all things overlanding, there's a link to my Patreon page where we've got a 24/7 Discord. We share memes, we crack jokes, we talk about our rigs and gear and modifications and things that we're doing and winches we're installing and ask questions and all that good stuff, and it's a ton of fun. Also in the description below are links to my website where I've got funny overlanding camping themed patches and stickers, things like I hate people so I camp, or all things overlanding patches and stickers. So if you're into any of that stuff, if you want stuff to slap on your headliner or your windows or your fridge or anywhere in your rig, there's going to be a lot of funny options down there and they're pretty cheap. So definitely check those out. And then of course there is the Newbie Overlanders Facebook group, totally free to join, tons of awesome members, a great place to learn or to help newbies if you're more experienced. And we'd love to have you over there. So again, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.